Third time's a charm. Rule number 9, treating the game like it knows something you don't. A longer rule in the original video, originally something like sometimes the game is trying to teach you something you're too dumb or tired or angry or new at the game to notice. We have in the background Kunio-kun, Downtown Nakatsu Kunio-kun, or River City Ransom if you're from America. Hey, you're tough. You might just win after all. So let's fire this up. The original rule being longer because the inspiration of these, I wanted to get it more accurate to that instead of the longer version. But the original thing being like in a relationship or a conversation, you can treat the other person as though they know something you don't. It doesn't have to be that they know everything you don't or a lot of things you don't. They just have to know something you don't. You can learn something from the conversation. It could be almost anything that you learn. It can be like you learn something negative, something positive. It doesn't have to be a goddamn revelation. So in this case, gaming, sometimes the game is trying to teach you something and we're going to go over it, but you're dumb or you're tired or you're angry or you're new and you don't understand it. Personal relationship with this was Streets of Rage 2, a classic game that a lot of people enjoy that has, if you throw that game in on normal difficulty and you just play it and you're like, the graphics were nice. They weren't up to the standard of the arcades at the time, but our graphics, everything, no. The game is easy enough that you'll just kind of plow through it with tons of lives and everything that it gives you on normal and continues. And then the amount of enemies is not overwhelming, and you won't even learn. Like you won't be like, this is so hard, I need to figure out what to do about throws. Oh, I press up and jump, and like that keeps me from getting thrown to death. All these little things are like hidden in Streets of Rage 2. So that's like a game that for years I was like, well, this game is fine, but like give me some Final Fight, give me whatever I can get my hands on. As I got older, I was like, nah, this game is, well, for one thing, I played the crap out of Final Fight. So then when I'm playing Streets of Rage 2 now, it's like it's a little more a little bit more of a new experience that's like, oh, here's things here's something I haven't played to death. So sure. But modern games, to go into more modern things, would be something like the God of War reboot or any of the Dark Souls, Demon Souls games, any kind of game that has a progression or character levels, a tree where you learn stuff, Batman Arkham games. The depth of the game is kind of hidden there, and also things have a much nicer ramp anymore where they kind of introduce things to you and hold your hand and stuff. And so in this way, I'm saying, like, when you approach a game and you're like, oh, I get it, this game's stupid. It's like, are you stupid? Or are you a noob? Are you new at the game? If you've been playing all night and you're like, this game is like frustrating and stupid and I can't like beat it and it's too hard. It's like, are you tired? Are you angry? Do you need to eat something? Do you need to take a nap? Do you need to just chill out? Relax? It's absolutely a thing. So when you fire up a game and right away your initial reactions, we kind of talked about this before, it's like, maybe you're just being dumb about the game. Maybe you're uninformed. Like, it doesn't mean that you're like a dummy all day long, but some of us are, at least by ratio, right? Like half of the planet's probably smarter than you, right? Like if you're the baseline, half of them are like dumber and half of them are smarter. So you can be dumb, and you can be dumb in all kinds of like tiny senses. So that's fine. Getting tired at games, it wasn't as big a deal for me as like a young man, but like more these days, it's like, like, can I really just stay up and keep powering through it? Or is it like, let me go I'll go to bed. I'm an old man, Angry? Absolutely a thing, except I was one of those people that got angry and then like focused their anger and got like energy and focus and shit out of it. I mean, there was times when I was like angry and I'm like doing stupid stuff, but that's like a small transitional period into like a focused anger of like putting in better attempts. Being a noob or new at the game, everyone, this happens to them. The more games you play and the more you follow the rules of getting better at games that I'm laying out here, the less time you'll spend in Noob Town, or the more you'll at least recognize you're a noob and you should maybe open yourself up to what the game is like trying to teach you. It would be amazing if on like normal difficulty you get like thrown in Streets Rage 2 and you're like, I would like to know what to do about that. And that happens to me more now in games where I'm like, something happens and I'm like, I wonder if that's like a big problem in the future and when the game gets more challenging as the game ramps up. So these are all things to say, like, you know, you're gonna go grab the old rules, the previous steps of rules, and say, you know, it's time for me to stick to my commitment and to invest in myself by going and doing the research and thinking about what I'm experiencing and being like, that's something to note, and maybe don't do the research immediately, but you do it down the road. And then you've done that research, and the next day you compare yourself and you're like, I know more than I did yesterday. I'm better than myself yesterday. And I'm not going to let this game do things to me that I don't like. I actually have like researched and figured it out. And was it the game's fault? It can be, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe you found out like up and A lets you land from throws, and you didn't just lie to yourself and be like, this game is dumb, it's impossible to get out of throws. You found out like, yeah, it's possible. And now the game has taught you. That's today's rule. That's rule 9. And tomorrow we're going to go into a rule that's like a thing you might need to really like learn how to do, which is that sometimes you got to figure out what exactly is the problem. Is it the game? Is it then in the game, what's the problem? Is it something about the design of the game? Is it something about how you interpret the design of the game? Is it someone you're playing with? Is it a particular mechanic? Is it that you're tired? Is it that you're new? Is it that you're angry and you need to relax? There's tons of stuff going on there. So that'll be a fun one. I wonder if I'd love to use more Destiny picture because background, because that's definitely where I learned to do that, like analysis. What is the problem? But remember, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me some comments, whatever you got. I'm already like thinking up like almost a counter stream to what we've been doing with these rules, where it's like we kind of break down traps and stuff in the rules, and maybe like concatenate them down to like simpler stuff, because there might almost be too many rules here. It's, a lot of things are like, make a commitment, keep your mind open, and get your confidence in your approach straight before you attack the world. Like if all of your shit's in order, then maybe it's some other problem. You know, like figure out, you know, that kind of stuff and the analysis internally. Stop blaming the world for all your problems. Stop saying like, I can't do it. I don't like it. I don't want to. You know, set your goals and not analyze what you really want out of them and all that stuff. So, really quick, I used this background today for Kunio-kun, and I chose it, and it's almost like the opposite. Like the run that you just watched was the like highest difficulty on the Japanese version of the game, and so it was even harder. Or there's aspects to it that were like slightly different, and prices were like odd and different from my usual experience. So that's almost everything I knew about the game was kind of like thrown out, and you just only had like your basic powers, and you could strengthen your character, but you couldn't pick up any abilities. And what did that teach me about the game? It's like, well, you could take out whatever you want from that. Like, I learned how to use like the background elements so I could jump up on to walls, and that would like avoid counterattacks from the enemies. I don't know that maybe yeah, see how I'm jumping up there and jumping down. I learned like that this was like a way to handle enemies when you couldn't just like brute force the game. Cool. Not really something you need to know, but when the game really challenges you, you don't need to know it normally, but when the game challenged you, it was something you learned. And I treated the game as though it was possible to beat, and it knew something I didn't, and I found that technique and learned something. I take that away. That's just something to take away from the game. But yeah, all right, guys. Again, let me know what you think, and we'll be back tomorrow with the 10th rule, and then we'll be in the last 2, and we'll move on to some new style of addressing these philosophies. All right, thanks, guys.